what I hear from Chinese investors is that this is indeed true, and has been this ban of mining has been followed up by a ban of trading, actually, not owning Bitcoin but trading. So all the exchanges and had to close their accounts basically by December 31st, and that's why we have seen this large decline from 69 to the 40,000 right now. Is mainly
pushing sell.
I guess, and there's a lot of analysis. I retweeted some of that. I think it was Glassnode analysis that shows that and we know that. I mean, if you're all the selling last 2 months was done in Chinese working hours.
So that's what it is. Yeah,
that's what it is. So that's where the selling came from, and there is you can see exchange balances, the number of Bitcoins on exchanges, and all the Chinese exchanges are close to zero right now. But we have seen them decline the balances over the last 2 months.
That's really interesting as it relates to stock to flow, right? Because it's about supply and stuff, right? So you're seeing this unusual amount, or maybe not unusual, but you're seeing a large amount of supply coming in unexpectedly based off of what the model might have predicted, right? So the supply kind of screws up the
the supply of the stock to flow ratio is the supply in the market from the miners. Yeah, so it doesn't matter if it's in custodian or on exchange,
but it is supply and demand overall. And if more supply is coming in from existing holders, in addition to that, it kind of screws up. How do I explain this? So what is it, 90 coins a day right now versus 180 before March 2020, right? So you're 90, but you're increasing it if you have more sellers, right?
Yeah. So it's demand and supply on exchanges or in the market, which is of course directly impacts the price, which causes the price to be what it is. But it's not relevant in the context of stock to flow, because that is only the supply is only the number of coins that are mined every month.
Okay. But it is relevant relative to the price because it's all based on supply and demand. Okay.
Yeah. And if everybody's selling, then the price goes down. Of course.
Down. A lot of people are like, "What?" But my friends are like, "Got people in the Bitcoin." They're like, "Why is the price going down?" I'm like, "There's more sellers than buyers." Sorry to tell you.
Actually, it's good news, right? Because the December 31st is over, is behind us. So the exchanges are empty, are done. Trading is not. Yeah, well.
So that's not coming. That already happened. So he might have misinterpreted that. That's interesting.
Right. Okay. So now we're back to inflation, and what's the Fed going to do with the interest rates?
That's, I think, the big catalyst at the moment. That's probably, and then we won't shake that out, I think, until Q2. I really believe it's going to take until Q2 for this to whole shake out. And so who knows where we go from here to there. You know?
Yeah. So very, very interesting. And if that, and of course, all the expectations about what the Fed is going to do are already priced in the market, are in the interest rate right now. Mm-hmm. So the move from 1.5 to 1.8%, that's because investors think the Fed will raise interest rates, because that's sort of what they said indirectly. Important events are the ones you don't see. So if you would have asked me this question end of 2019, I would have never foreseen COVID and the
unforeseen events,
enormous impact that had on QE in the markets and Bitcoin. So I guess we're going to have another unknown, call it a black swan event, somewhere this year that will make.
You think it'll be this year? You think so?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
It's like the market's looking for that. They just want to pull back. It's like it's getting a little too rich for everybody's blood.
Well, one of the things I'm following, but don't read too much in that, but I find it interesting. It's on my radar. COVID was a scenario, of course, that was been written about before 2020, and there were in that particular. So it feels a bit like you could see it as a drill, basically, and there were more scenarios written in those documents, and one of the scenarios is a computer virus.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information, and it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
So we had the real virus and all the responses like lockdowns, etc.
Yeah.
But a computer virus, and think about the small incidents that we've seen already in the oil pipes in America. that were hacked, and then ransomware, and there's a Bitcoin component there as well. We've seen some of those incidents in Europe as well. They were less frequently published. But I see there was a big drill like a month ago, 2 months ago in Israel with 10 countries. US, of course, Israel, Netherlands, well, the usual suspects, where they sort of planned the whole event. And it might be little bit of a tinfoil hat thing, but I'm watching those stories closely. And so that's one thing. And another thing is, but that's very macro, of course. We talked about Kazakhstan, and we see some troop building up of troops around the Russian European borders as well, which is small, doesn't get much media attention. But in alternative news / Twitter, it's very interesting to follow what happens in those countries. And for example, Kazakhstan is as large as Europe. It's a very big country. It has, I think, 80% of all the oil and commodities of Russia. So it's a very important, strategically important area for, well, at least Russia. But so let's see what happens there. And that's to Russian borders where there is movement. And I think we have to, from a geopolitical point of view, have to watch that as well. Yeah, and of course the other big topic, but that relates to the Fed is inflation. What will inflation do?
Which we haven't really talked about, but go ahead.
I mean, we've seen
it's a big topic.
It's a big topic. We've seen asset inflation, especially if you look beyond the CPI into the real stuff like education and healthcare and assets like real estate.
Healthcare went up 30% for most people in the United States. From last year to this year.
I can tell you, electricity prices in Europe have gone 3x. So an average family in Europe pays like, what is it, 200 euros a month for electricity? 600 now.
Yeah, and the only way people are able to justify it, and there's no justification for it, but the only way they're able to swallow it, I guess, is that as a line item, like an actual line item, if let's say your electric bill was like $60, now it's $150 or something like that. They could absorb it, even though the percentage is off the chart, be relative to everything else they have, right? But it's not sustainable to keep doing that.
It's not sustainable, and I think we will see that spill over from asset inflation to normal inflation, and we're seeing that at the moment, of course, which is why the Fed reacts. But if history is any guide, then the Fed will not be able to contain that.
This is like the tweet that Dorsey put out, right? Jack Dorsey.
Oh, I missed that.
He called it hyperinflation or something like that. Everybody freaked out because it's not technically hyperinflation, but
Yeah, no, well, but hyperinflation, because what they did to the money supply cannot be undone. And they haven't thought about it well enough, so it cannot.
You think they haven't thought of it, or they just didn't think they had an alternative?
That's it. They had to do something because doing nothing is not an option.
Because you're allowing this market to crash, and they don't want to let anything crash anymore.
Yeah, you can imagine how those board meetings go. Like most people know that doing nothing is probably the best option, but that cannot be allowed. You cannot do nothing, and then somebody becomes angry, and we do something, and money, blah blah blah, and so which I think was a stupid thing. They should have left Lehman and all the other investment banks go bust.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.